Hey. Do we have anybody online?
Not yet.
One person said they're going to be joining.
Quorum? It's quorum.
I don't know. I think all of us are members.
I'm an official member. Amanda's an official member. I think you two are official members.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, then yeah, we're okay then. We have even I think one person this year. Okay. You're like, oh no, no quorum. Let everybody go enjoy the nice weather. Let's get a beer.
I'm not sure that's ever happened. Or we didn't have enough to go home. Ever.
I think there's been one time where we knew ahead of time based on the number of people who reached out and said they weren't going to be able to make it, that we canceled the meeting, but I think it was only like one time that I can recall. We're streaming?
I'm streaming.
We're ready. We're doing it. All right. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to the April 2026 Inclusivity Committee meeting. We will start by doing attendance. Since we all know each other and have been here before, we can just do the attendance piece, not necessarily the introduce yourself and give your life story piece. And then we'll approve the minutes. Precinct 2, we'll go over some announcements and then get into the agenda. And yeah, so I will start us off, and then if anyone's online, we'll check in with them. Amanda Polly.
Jen Amador.
Albacete.
Jane Sherwood.
Bethany Harvey.
Megan Urban.
Chris Workman. I don't see anybody online yet.
All right. Great. Welcome. Hi, Beth. Hey. Good. Good. Okay, so in the packet, we have the meeting minutes from last month. Did anyone notice anything that needs to be updated, added, changed, etc.?
It looks accurate to me.
If there is nothing that anyone wants to change, are we good with approving the minutes from March? Is it?
Yes.
Cool. Love that. Minutes approved. Announcement. What we got going on in here? So Jessica gave me some announcements via text that she is not here and asked me to read them. So I'm just gonna read them verbatim as they were texted to me. First is an update on the Holocaust Remembrance Day proclamation. It was City Council unanimously voted to pass the resolution. When reading aloud the proclamation during the meeting following council approval, I, Jessica Andrade, realized that there was some important information the Inclusivity Committee should discuss during our next review of it. I shared with the council that although the resolution focuses on associating the Holocaust with anti-Semitism and the genocide of Jewish people, there were many additional peoples who were targeted for genocide and persecution during the Holocaust. I recommended that the Inclusivity Committee discuss expanding the proclamation to include this information. Jessica mentioned this to us when we were putting together the packet for this meeting, and so I keep a running list for whatever the following year is, so I have a 2027 document where when things come up like this that impact a dated something or other in the following year, I've made a note, so when it comes around to talking about this proclamation again next year, you can touch on those notes from Jessica and anyone else. Her second announcement is that there is a new exhibit at the Philomath Museum. It just opened. It is on display to the end of 2026. It is called Centuries of Celebration, and it highlights the evolution of the way our country is honored, reflecting the values, aspirations, and spirit of its time. And then also at the Philomath Museum, there is a party for the 75th anniversary of the Benton County Historical Society. That's going to be on May 30th from noon until 6 at the museum, and it is free, so you can look at the Benton County Historical Society's website for additional information. It looks like they're going to have some music and some festivities, and it sounds like it'll be very fun.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Trying to just double check that this is in the packet before and then also I added to the packet, it's at the very back, the flyer for the 47th annual powwow that they always do at Oregon State. It's open to all, and they do a bunch of really cool events throughout the day. That is on May 16th, so in a couple of weeks from now. So if folks are interested, that flyer is in the packet that we have here, and folks online can check it out in the packet as well. Does anyone else have any announcements or updates they want to provide on things that aren't in the packet? Awesome. Well, if anything comes to mind while we're chatting, feel free to throw it in there and we can make sure folks know about stuff. Get back to my Okay, so the first item of business is the National Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month Proclamation draft review. Alba and Jane worked on the draft for this proclamation as well. And so that draft is in the packet, so we can discuss it and make any changes or approve it as is, or whatever folks want. Does anyone have any notes or any changes that they saw that were suggestions for the proclamation?
Can we say in the second clause, wording clause,
11?
9/11, thank you, Asian American and Pacific Islanders rather than Pacific Islander individuals?
Does that make sense?
So it'd be to strike island individuals and just say islanders. I don't know if that's incorrect, but that's how I would say it.
Trying to think of I don't know enough about the semantics of it to know if that is a,
I think, so I do agree that the sentence as written is a little, I like the overall sentiment of the proclamation, and I think most of it's very solid. But this is something I tripped over as well. I think I might start on line 11, whereas we celebrate all Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, just pluralize both groups and drop individuals. And then I would also strike help and just put it instead who contribute their rich culture, blah, blah, blah. Because I'm not sure help is doing a lot there. That I think would clean it up, because Chris, yeah, I had the same thought where it was like, hang on, this has to get read out loud, and if I tried to read it out loud, I think I might stumble, which is not what we want in a committee meeting or city council meeting.
And I agree with you on removing help as well.
Yeah, otherwise, I think this is really good. So that's the only thing that stuck out to me.
So kind of somewhere in line 14, Pacific Islander people instead of just Asian American and Pacific Islanders. But I don't know.
Yeah, if we're gonna do that, we probably do want to make it match.
I guess is it, and maybe this is a tendency, because is it Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders? Or is it Asian American Pacific Islander? I think it's, I don't think that Asian American and Pacific Islanders is one description for one people.
right, it's
Two
just
different
it's just the
Right.
month.
They're just combined for those.
Yeah.
That, so I think going back up to 11, it should be Asian Americans with an S. Right, and then in 14, it should be Asian American and
Pacific Islanders, yeah.
have faced. And then same note, I guess, if it says that anywhere else later on.
On 11, we would remove our as well. We celebrate all Asian American.
Yes,
Yes,
ours.
yes. Oh, and then on 15, there's a typo in our country.
Yep. I did not catch that.
Oh, instead of in or, it should say in our country. Gotcha.
Jessica also texted some thoughts, it looks like.
Okay. Jessica texted me some thoughts with some specific lines. I'm just going to read it straight through and then we can discuss, or we can go line by line. She says, great job. It's hard to begin a new proclamation. In the third whereas, I would include racism in that list. It's ideological as opposed to discrimination, which is action-based, and it's a different concept from xenophobia. So would we put both of those in there?
Those racism.
Yes.
Sitting line 14.
So it faced racism, discrimination. Is she saying, or
Yeah,
take out discrimination and put racism? Is that?
no, we will be adding racism.
I think it's adding, yeah, additive,
Oh,
not
okay.
take it away.
Okay.
I faced racism, comma, discrimination, xenophobia, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
I think that's probably fine.
Cool. Anyone opposed to that suggestion? And then on line 17, she suggests add and learn from after the word acknowledge. So we must also learn from and acknowledge and learn from our nation and our city's own dark history. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
It seems like a lot of ands for one small clause.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, there's currently 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be the 5th. Yeah, but I can't think of any other way to reword it. So
Yeah, I think
That's the
it's-
best way, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I totally see where you're coming from, and unfortunately,
That's the best way, yeah.
English is sometimes just kind of clunky. Yeah. No one's gonna be reading this and like weeping at, how beautiful the prose is, right?
She also said in the same words, I think we need a stronger word than attempt in line 18, and then suggests perhaps work to do better. It makes it an ongoing action which describes the idea accurately. So instead of attempt to do better, it would say work to do better.
I think work or strive, maybe.
Could we put and learn from in that spot? Because it's kind of like we acknowledge it and learn from it. I mean, that's kind of attempting to do better, right? Is learning from it.
Well, I think the learning and the doing are two different things. Like you learn.
She wants the we acknowledge this happened, we're working to learn from it, and then as a follow-up here is what we are doing, which should be the doing better, I think.
Yeah, and so if it was in addition to, I would still think it reads better to say acknowledge our nation through its own dark history, racism, exclusion, and either attempt to learn from it and do better, or learn from it and attempt to do better or something, but the things we're doing post acknowledgement, I think would be better grouped together at the end.
Yeah. So we could say learn from it and work to do better.
Yeah, that might flow better. It addresses Bethany's point as well. Okay, so then.
That would be, must also acknowledge our nation and our city's own dark history of racism and exclusion, and learn from it and work to do better. Is that?
Yeah, I think so.
After exclusion, there could be a comma instead of.
Yeah, I was thinking instead of an and, we could put a comma there too. Exclusion, comma, learn from it and work to do better.
Yeah.
Maybe keep our and burden as low as possible.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
There should that the comma before and be a semicolon?
The very last one, yeah.
Do better, comma. And
Yeah,
instead of comma,
it should be a semicolon, correct.
And sorry, in line 9, is that semicolon correctly placed before the quotation marks?
I think it should actually be after. Because it's the,
I think so too.
yeah. I think it's supposed to be outside, not inside. But that is the kind of thing that Word might have autocorrected too. Who knows?
She says, unsure about the therefore clause, particularly line 27. Was United Community supposed to be capitalized?
Oh yeah, no.
No, that's That looks like, yeah, Word or something again.
And then the only other note is I would love to see additional historical clauses of some kind in future iterations of the proclamation. So when we pull this up again, we can,
That's, yeah, I think a note for next year, because that's much bigger than just line edits.
yeah, but I really,
More historical, what did you
Um, additional historical clauses of some kind in future iterations, so like,
More historical context.
yeah,
maybe.
like specific to Philomath or the area.
Yeah. Even just, talking about like the role of like Chinese laborers in building the railroads and like Western expansion.
What do the rest of the committee feel about, in line 17, the use of the term dark history as opposed to just history? Not to put rose-colored glasses on it, but I mean, our nation definitely, but especially when it comes to Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, I don't know that I have any instances I've ever heard of the city having like a dark history and mistreating Pacific Islanders or Asian Americans. Not that there's not like,
I will say, I think with a lot of proclamations like this, we do try to avoid editorial language. So we might want to strike dark just on that note.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I can agree with that. I think it doesn't really add anything.
Yeah. Again, it's a fancy proclamation, so. No one's gonna come out and be like, actually, I feel really positive about like the state of Oregon's history of racism. I think that was good, and I feel like warm and fuzzy about it, like.
communities do have like a very specific history with certain nationalities that came in, like
Right.
there's known dark history there, and I'm not aware of that being in Philomath specific to this, and so why like overemphasize it if it's not necessary to?
And again, it's a proclamation, editorial language is not really what we do with them. Okay.
Okay, so we've gone through some edits. Is there anything else anyone has comments or suggestions about? If not, we can have the edits made to the document and then we will send it forward to City Council, have staff do that for us and get that on a agenda for May. I can't believe it's almost May. Wild.
I know, right? Friday.
All right, well, then. Good. Great job putting that together. 2 proclamations in a row. Y'all
Yeah,
are-
they're not easy to write.
Okay. Well, good work on that, everyone. Looking for. Okay, the next item of business is the social media post. There is content from the social media post for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month that will go sort of hand in hand with the proclamation. And then there is also a template guide as to sort of how we put together the posts, what you should be thinking about if you are writing a post, some examples of best practices and things like that. So the first thing we will do is look over the content for the actual post. If anyone has notes or anything that they want to add to that, and then we can discuss the template document. I think depending on when this gets posted, we could maybe add a sentence at the end that mentions, like if we post it after, depending on when like if council does the proclamation earlier in the month, at that meeting, if there's time, I think that would give us time to still post this early enough in the month that we could make a note of the proclamation.
Here's the, I added a sentence about
Oh, perfect. That's right, you did.
I did, I sent it back to you. I was
Yes,
like,
you did.
that was
Proud to proclaim, yes.
Yeah, Fulham was proud to proclaim, blah, 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 yeah.
Perfect. Never mind.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing where, depending on when it goes to council, this may or may not be included. But that's a line that can be removed if it's not, you know.
Mhm. Okay.
Is this a post from the City of Philomet or the Inclusivity Committee?
I think they go on, we write them, but they go on the City of Philomet's Facebook page.
And it's not necessary to add here.
I don't think so. I don't know if we have in the past. We haven't put,
I got sent posts, like, as examples of what had previously been posted, and there was no mention of the Inclusivity
Yeah,
Committee,
I don't
so
think
I don't
we-
think it, like, comes up.
in the past, we've written the posts, but we don't necessarily say like,
We don't toot our
this
own
is an
horn.
inclusivity committee post, like we're, yeah.
So does the city council need to review them on time, like beforehand? Okay.
No, we do. And I would assume if there was anything super inflammatory in there,
Yeah,
that we would talk about it in here.
I just
but-
really ranted about like one specific group of people. I was like, we honor everybody in Philomath except for these people,
Yeah.
except people that like the Red Sox,
How
Amanda.
dare you come for me like that?
I will drag you.
Dare you? Yeah, I think it's good.
Well, yeah, the only note that I would have is there's not an image attached to this. I wanted to ask whoever posts it, whether that's Crystal or someone else, if we could literally just make something that's text. Because all of the like free stock images I could find were kind of stereotypes about Pacific Islanders. And I was like, I'm not really comfortable with that. I wouldn't want that for like Hispanic Heritage Month. I don't want a picture of a guy in a sombrero. So just something that's, you know, nice, pretty text, call it good. But like if someone else was like, oh, I think we should do blah, blah, I would be more than happy to hear that.
Okay. Can I bring up,
No. Of course you can.
was kind of the line, so on page 8, it's the last sentence in the social media. It just feels, I think it's just the way it's written. Please join us as we celebrate their contributions and achievements in our community and beyond. It feels very us and them. And again, I know it's not intentional, but and I think just because they're in the same sentence right there. So maybe if somebody has a more creative way of saying that same thing.
Maybe just join us as we celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander contributions in Philomath and beyond.
Yeah. Take out there.
Yeah, just name the group again. I mean, that's probably the best way to do it.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
No, I'm right. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
whenever it gets sent, I think we do need to have a note about that. Philomath is proud to proclaim blah, blah, because it's going to depend on when this gets posted and when it goes to council, because if it has not been proclaimed yet, that's a really weird thing to put in the post.
yeah, and not everything will have a proclamation, but if it does, then.
Yeah, it should. Head back.
Cool. So then, yeah, we can just make that one edit and we can, Crystal and I's process is to, in the shared drive that we use, there's a folder for social media posts. So I usually just drop the text and then any images, into that folder. Chris, do you think it makes sense for one of us to do like a header image like that, or is that something that would be appropriate for Crystal to do?
For this one specifically, or like,
Because I can do it easily.
if you want to put something together, I mean, I was taking a little bit notes of like how to guide her on what to do, but if,
I mean, I just don't know if it's like one of those, well, one of those things where it's, you know, one of the committees is like, I want you to graphically design this, or if,
no, I don't think that's a big deal. I think
Okay.
it's more just a matter of making sure that she understands what the kind of direction is for there, but I've got, no, I can talk to her about it. She can do it.
I know she likes to do that, so.
Pretty text, no hula dancers, that's all I ask. Please, God.
No hula dancers?
No hula dancers, no pineapples.
I put no clip art, stereotype, artwork, etc.
Yeah, thank
So-
you. Because that was all I was finding as I was looking, and I was like, oh, this is not good.
It's very
Okay.
difficult.
It is really
It's
hard.
very something.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have approved the post, made some edits that will be integrated. And then we have the social media template is the next
Yeah.
thing in the agenda, which basically just walks, well, you want to go over it?
Sure, it's pretty informal. This is obviously like for internal use only. It's never going to see the light of day apart from this committee. And it's literally just as you're putting one of these together, here's how it's structured and here is what you need to think about as you write it. So pretty simple. Every sentence is just kind of like, here's what goes here. If there's anything that is missing or that people would like clarification on, I'm happy to give that, or we can update it to make it clearer to everybody. But again, it's supposed to be pretty informal. It's just a guide for like, hey, as you're thinking about this, here's what needs to go into it.
Sense, to me, I mean, I have written several posts here, so like this kind of matches what I remember doing.
I based it off of the examples I was sent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think that would be useful. And the thing about posts too is if someone volunteers to write one and they've never written a social media post before and they follow this, it still comes back to the committee and we can talk about it. And so it doesn't have to necessarily be perfect the first time.
yeah,
Or,
this doesn't replace committee review.
Yeah.
So
but it is a good, instead of just staring at a blinking cursor being like, what should I do for a social media post?
what do I put here? Yeah,
Mhm.
which was a good probably 10 minutes of. Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah, nothing like the horror of a blank document, right?
Is there anything in the template text that folks think is missing? Anything folks want clarification on? The best thing about this being a sort of living document is that as we're writing posts, we can edit it and change it. We can probably, at the bottom here, put a text example like I sent to Jen.
Yeah.
so that folks don't have to go all the way back through our city's Facebook
agendas.
page to find one
Yeah.
that we've written. And then this will always live in a shared space, so if someone volunteers to write a post and they're like, I can't find that, I can always pull that out and send it to folks, so it will always be readily available. But I think it will be helpful. Okay. Well, if no one has any comments on that, we can move on to,
Thank you for preparing them.
thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll produce slow if we do more of these.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
So calendar review and tasks. I wasn't at the last meeting, but touched base with Jen and Jessica, watched the meeting recording, and three of the things that Jen and Jessica brought up to me were an inclusivity proclamation, potentially, that would be read in June, that we would start working on now. One does exist, and has been pretty heavily worked on over the last couple of years, but I think it is worth adding something to it, whatever that may be. So if an inclusivity proclamation is something that we want to do for June, we can discuss what that looks like and see maybe some kind of recommendation in May. There was also conversation about something for Juneteenth, whether that be a social media post and or a proclamation or some kind of additional content, or probably not an event, but if there's something we could contribute to someone else's efforts elsewhere or whatnot, we can discuss that. And then also National Disability Independence Day, which is July 26th, and writing a post about that, or finding some way to, as a committee, do some kind of community service around that day. So I'm gonna open it up to y'all to discuss all of these, none of these additional things. About, I guess I did want some clarification on the inclusivity proclamation, because there was the conversation that you all had last month
About the city attorney.
about potentially the city attorney, and that, I don't know what the status of that is. And I wanted to check in with you, Chris, to see if that was somewhere we should be putting energy, or if it's like what the thoughts and feelings are about that.
Yeah, I dropped the ball on that a little bit. I haven't followed back up with her since she made her initial offer to talk with us about that, and I've just not followed up, so I can do that and see. So that would be good information to have at this meeting today, but I don't have it, sorry.
Well, I mean, we could talk about it before
Yeah.
next meeting, before we dig too far into it.
Why don't I talk with her and just follow up with you directly?
Perfect.
And if it feels like we want to go a different direction other than updating the inclusivity proclamation, then we can talk about that next month. And if we're gonna, if we're still going that direction to just update, we'll know that for next month. If she wants to come and talk about it a little bit, we can try to get that on the agenda for next month.
Perfect.
Great.
So we will put a full pause on that.
I can do a social media post for Juneteenth.
Perfect.
I can do one for National Disability Independence Day.
Yeah.
I would love to see us move to more action-based things rather than, I mean, proclamations and social media posts are great and fine, but I did sort of think that we were gonna be like out in the community working with people and having like a more, instead of just saying we're about it, kind of actually being about it
Yeah,
and seeing how
I
we
agree.
can actually support people. And I don't know what that looks like as a city committee or what our bandwidth is as a committee, but I would love to encourage us to figure out, talk to the community, figure out what the need is and how we can help.
Yeah, I think the trick is talking about early enough that we've got time to plan an event, do some, whatever that is. I think everybody, we've talked about this for years, and we don't want to just pass proclamations every month, right? It is about doing more. Proclamation's kind of a starting spot, getting the banners up as a starting spot. But I think in a lot of these, we're at a point where like 2 or 3 months out, we should be planning to do something, right? Regardless of what that is. So I love the concept. And again, on all of these, I think we're early enough out that we can look at, is there some theme we can do
Yeah.
in addition to proclamation, education, information sharing?
I feel like you had a great idea last time about having somebody come from somewhere to talk about like how accessible Philomath is, or I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a more action-based.
I think it was specifically like looking at different businesses and giving like tips or commending them for accessibility if they actually, have that, if they're open to it, like working with us to do that. I think this is actually something that might be nice with the senior work that you've been doing, Jane, because like a lot of seniors may have mobility issues, things that make it difficult to, step over doorsteps or like to go places that don't maybe have a ramp if you have a walker or wheelchair. So it feels like there's an opportunity there maybe to do something hand in hand, because like the thing about disability is it doesn't care who you are, right? And if you are lucky enough to live to a certain age, you may find that you no longer have the mobility you did when you were younger. So it seems like that might be a good chance to kind of bring those two groups together and bring the senior stuff into focus, especially because August is, I think, it's National Senior Month.
I think something too that just sort of has been in my brain is that I like, for organizational purposes and for like when we're sort of coming up with a blank on what to do, I feel like the calendar is a nice thing to have. But I also think that there are plenty of things that we can do that don't, like, we can do something in the community that doesn't tie to a specific date. So like, if we can still do a Juneteenth post, we can still do National Disability Independence Day, but we can also be like, we could decide, in this month, we want to do an event about this thing. And it doesn't have to necessarily be tied to a calendar recognition type of day. And so I agree with you that there are lots of things we can be doing in the community, in addition to the sort of info, like awareness posts that we're doing. Like, but I do think we have a tendency to look at the calendar and try to plan 4 months in advance for a specific thing instead of just also thinking about more broadly what the community might want or what we want to do in the community.
Also, something that we have not been doing here lately is sharing what we're doing outside the Inclusivity Committee, but that it's related to the goals of the committee, like the seniors group, because Diane Jane started and I helped there, and we have activities and craft and partnership with Maxtivity and informational meetings that also bring people from around the community and talk to seniors, and it's a great initiative, I think. And we used to give like a report here at the meeting, but it has been always a little bit of confusing if that is something that is the Inclusivity Committee doing or something that members participate outside. And the same thing happened, especially I think to me, I was very confused about the Pride organization. Is it an external
It's external.
doing it, or it's part of the Inclusivity Committee activities? And then also Rose started this Philomet Fellowship, which was like a group outside Inclusivity Committee to talk about. Well, it was a safe space with your neighbors to talk, to have difficult conversations, but the topics were around inclusion, and we wanted more people from the community to join us, and that is still sort of happening, but we have stopped sharing here in this meeting. So I think, I think we're all doing things like the Hispanic thing that we're organizing, like it's just something that kind of happens, not necessarily during the time of this meeting, but I think that maybe we have not bring it up, perhaps.
I think we historically during the announcements section have announced like events and also volunteer opportunities that have popped up in the community. It might be nice to bring that back. I know that like, I can't speak for everybody, but I, for instance, have a lot of time to volunteer this summer and trying to find places to volunteer that need volunteers, and the community has kind of been like pulling teeth. Feels like you need to know somebody who already volunteers to find out like, okay, here's what's going on and here's what we need. I do think like everything that you're talking about is external, because the Inclusivity Committee as it's structured, like there are things we can and can't do just because of how the city code and whatnot is set up. And I mean, it is what it is, right? So Pride is external, Fellowship is external. I believe the senior group at this point is now also its own separate entity, correct? Yeah. At the same time, like you're right that these are amazing opportunities for us to go out and actually practice inclusivity and put into like action what we hold as our values as a committee, right? Go out and talk to people in the community and find out more and then bring it back here. So it's like, on the one hand, yeah, it's external. On the other hand, it should inform what we do, which is I think what Amanda was trying to talk about as well. How do we reach people in the community, find out what community needs are, so that as a committee we can serve them better, right? Because right now it feels like there's a vast gulf between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I know there are a lot of really good ideas that folks have, and so I think that there's definitely space to inform, but also engage. Like, I want Jane at some point in a future meeting for us to kind of go back over the broad strokes of the age-friendly communities thing that we originally were doing, thinking about joining the AARP network and then deciding against it. But the framework was really great. And we talked, I think it was like not last year, maybe the end of the year, end of 2024, we're talking about picking things from some of those categories and working on those like in the Inclusivity Committee. And a lot of it had to do with accessibility or forming community for people of all ages in the city. And it was a really nice sort of pathway to like some low-hanging fruit and project ideas. And so I think it would be really cool to revisit that with new folks. I have sort of a passion project where I really want to do some sort of panel, or I went to a panel in Corvallis that was all city or elected officials locally that were also people of color, and the struggles that they've gone through being, elected officials, and how they got into it. And it really sort of, I find civic engagement to be very hard to get into if you don't have someone sort of stewarding you through that process. I, I never thought I would be in a room like this or considering being involved in any sort of city government in any way when up until I moved to Philomath, and then I loved Philomath so much I was like, I want to be involved in the city. And I had friends who were involved, and that's how I got involved. But if you're someone in town, aside from Citizens Academy, there's not really a sort of foot in the door sort of thing. And so I would love to see some kind of event in town that like makes city government more accessible to folks that don't know anything about it, like that maybe leads into Citizens Academy, which I think fits the mission of this committee. And so I think that like there are plenty of things that we can do in addition to, like, I think people should feel like kind of encouraged to have those ideas and bring them in and be like, hey, like, I really want to do this thing. Or, we had somebody last year, it never actually came to fruition, but we were going to go over to PCS and move a bunch of furniture around to help them out just as a committee because they needed help and we wanted to do something in the community. So I think like it doesn't necessarily have to do with,
Yeah.
a talk on a specific subject or something.
I do think we have a kind of unique opportunity. So first of all, I do think like a lot of us, what I'm hearing from like a lot of us and what I'm kind of getting is that we're all kind of like waiting for permission to do the thing. And it's like, hey, if you've been waiting to like, oh, do I have permission to do this? It's like, yeah, you absolutely do. Go out and do it. Maybe not say that you're coming officially from Inclusivity Committee because we don't have the leeway to do that, but just as a private citizen, if you want to and go out and have conversations, you can do that now. But Amanda, to your point, something that I think Alba and I really saw, and Jane, because you were there too, when we were at the farmers market in October, it was very late in the year, it was very rainy, but there were a lot of people that came up and talked to us and were just curious about what we were doing. And that was something that didn't have much lift to it. Like we put together little flyers and stuff, but for the most part, it was just we had candy, we had a little thing saying who we were, we sat out there and we talked to people in the community. And I know that we have opportunities to have a booth at the farmers market again. If we want to start having conversations about disability in the community, that's one way to do it, because even if people who are at the farmers market are able-bodied, they might have friends or family that are not, and they might have thoughts on that. Putting together like a discussion or something to be held at the library is a pretty low lift thing to do that gets a lot of people in the community more involved. Inclusivity is about including people, right? And hearing from other people. It's not us coming down from on high and saying like, here is what we have to do and here is what the community needs. Really, it needs to be a two-way conversation where it's us talking to other community members and finding out like, how could Philomath be better? How could we be more welcoming, right? And I do think like, we have all these great ideas about like wonderful things that we want to do. How do we get more people involved? And it really just starts with how do we have conversations? And how do we talk to other members of the community? So farmers market, events at the library, if we want to do anything like that, even if it's just advertised as like, hey, we're having a round table. We want to hear from you about disability or like what your role has been like, as a senior citizen in Philomath or as someone Hispanic in Philomath or with Hispanic friends. Like, it doesn't have to be Inclusivity Committee related, but we can bring back what we learned to the committee, right?
To that point, at the last meeting, it was brought up that there's opportunity for this committee to get involved with what's the title? Distributive planning? And so like what you're talking about, like a round table to collect like essentially data, like your community voice that is part of that. That was a suggestion to do, as well as a suggestion of like if the city has documents, surveys, whatever they want our thoughts before implementing them to make sure that we're going to have the best reach for that, to have the best input from the community. Like that's also another part. It's not as like hands-on action based as like meet and greet, but like it's another component of like
Yeah, I mean, if we're
Yeah,
gathering
work.
data, I think like accessibility has to be part of that question, right? Because there are going to be people that just are not able to leave their houses. They can't come to the library because they don't have childcare, they don't have a ride, they have to work at that time, whatever. So trying to get everybody and like hear from as many people as possible is part of that too. And yeah, you're absolutely correct. The strategic plan had some pieces in it about that.
I'm all about trying to find opportunities to get people together, right? Because I think when you have that opportunity to come together, whether it be physically or virtually or however it might be, you meet people, you get that sense of belonging, and you get that interweave, where it's not like I just have my people from work and I got my people from my kid's school and I got my people from church and those are my people, right? It's like when you do stuff out in the community, all of a sudden it kind of gets more interwoven, right? Now I've got friends over here and people I know over there, and it does all kind of weave together eventually. So I would love for this committee to take on to not necessarily event planning, but putting little get-togethers together that don't have a big lift, and I think everybody's got ideas on what those could look like. Just taking through, I was looking at the inclusivity stuff, not that we're trying to tie events to things, but with inclusivity, this committee, well, let me say one more thing before I give the idea. There's also, as much as there are some restrictions of things we can't do because we're a formal committee of the city, there's also a lot of things we can do because we're a committee of the city, right? Like you have access to me and to the city recorder and to the city's social media platform. And right, like there's a lot of other things we can do. Most other organizations don't get their stuff in the city newsletter, but if it's the Inclusivity Committee event, it's in the newsletter because it's a city committee, right? So there are some benefits that we can leverage more than what we're doing. So again, just a thought as an example, not necessarily just more illustrative than anything, for inclusivity for next month, it wouldn't take a lot to say, we're gonna have an event at the park or wherever for anybody who's moved to the city in the last 2 years. New to Philomath, let's get together and let's talk about things in Philomath, right? And we've invited the mayor to be there and he's gonna talk about favorite restaurants in town, things to be aware of, things to do in and around, how to be involved in the city more, community, whatever, right? Philomath News, we're gonna have Brad from the Philomath News be there to talk about how to engage it. I mean, that would be easy, right? It's like, we'll buy popsicles, right? City budget, we'll buy popsicles, we'll spend $10, we'll buy popsicles. Anybody who's been in the community for less than 2 years, come on out.
You have to show your driver's license though to indicate that you've moved to somewhere else.
Popsicle, I mean, you can come, but you only get the popsicle. So,
No.
like, it's just opportunities to just get people together. It's just an excuse,
I
right?
think that's a really good idea, and I think it's something that would be wonderful to do, for instance, in July, because July, July 4th, all celebrating, hey, we're all American, we're all here, yay, independence, but it's also kind of like, hey, we're all here in this community, we're all part of Philomath. July is kind of, I guess, the catch-all month in some ways, and it's also nice weather, so it's like if we wanted to, for instance, get people from other, like, city committees, maybe not the budget committee, no offense, Manda, but like,
Maybe anymore.
to come talk about like how did they get involved and like how can you get involved and what opportunities are there. Other organizations in Philomath, if anyone wants to get involved in that. It's April now. We didn't need a lot of people to come and make it a thing. If we can get, someone from Inclusivity Committee, maybe a city councilor or two, city mayor, and then any of the other committees that want to come out, maybe someone who can talk about Citizens Academy, like boom, that's it, that's done. It's literally just kind of like meet and greet.
we've talked in the past couple of years, we've talked about trying to target the first Philomath Market, that first Sunday that we have Philomath Market, as like a community open house type deal where we would invite all the different community organizations to come that Sunday and really hype it up. One, it would help the market because it's like, hey, opening day, a lot of extra people on that first opening day, but also to give all the organizations opportunity to be like, put their pop-up up or put their table out and explain who they are, what they do in the community, right? Just an opportunity again for anybody who's new to town, and we would market it and promote it. The market would market it, and we would also market it. I don't know what we call it, right? We first talked about this when we bought the What's Up Philomath canopy, and it was like, let's have a What's Up Philomath event, and we'll do it on that first market of every year.
I think What's Up
That's
Philomath is a
definitely-
great name. Like, you got it right there.
And again, how much planning does it take? We invite all of the community organizations to bring a tent or a canopy. You don't have to pre-register, have your sign sought, show up, find an empty spot, put up your table, your canopy, and put out your information, and we'll invite everybody to come, right? So again, there's little things I think that we can do that don't take a lot of planning. It just takes a little bit of time, not a week before or the month before, maybe like 2 months before, like we are now, to say, in May and June, are there some cool things that we want to do that, again, wouldn't take a whole lot of, what did you say? Lift.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't take a lot of lift.
So it sounds like you've got a great event planned. Would you like some volunteers to help you get that rolling?
Yeah, but that's the thing, we need somebody to lead, usually.
Yeah.
So,
I would love to volunteer to help. I don't think I have enough information to lead, like you're saying. I have no idea. I'm brand new.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to help, but I do need,
I was gonna say, like, Chris, like, I'm happy to help as well, but you are very well connected. So if you're offering your expertise, I know that you have a specific role in the city, and if you're like, no, I can't actually lead this, I can't be the face of it, that's fine. Are you willing to mentor or guide somebody else putting it together, would be my question.
Yeah, and I can be involved. I mean, that's the part of my job that I love, right?
Okay, good.
One of the parts of my job that I love.
So-
Be careful, because I say that often. But no, I mean, the community engagement stuff is a ton of fun, right? And
No, it's
so
great.
pulling that together, and I recognize that I've got an advantage that I've been here for like over 13 years now, and I've been very involved in different organizations. And so, you know, the Philomath Community Networking Group that meets once a month, I've got an email distribution list that's, you know, this long of all the different organization folks.
It
So,
sounds like that's who we would want to contact.
yeah, so I mean, it's fairly easy for me
Yeah.
to fire off an email and say, here's an idea that the Inclusivity Committee had. They're all about gathering and people belonging and coming together. Here's an idea. Here's the plan. Everybody show up. Here's what we're gonna do. You know, contact Megan if you have any concerns or questions. She's got, you know, time to answer and resolve and coordinate and whatever. We're kind of done, right? My other little idea I had over the weekend, which I thought was kind of cool. No, it was actually on Friday. I was at a conference and there was a guest speaker that talked about just trying stuff, right? Breaking through all the bureaucracy and the red tape, which is what we talk about a lot in large organizations, have a lot of bureaucracy and red tape. But just do it, just try it, right? Just try it. And what's the worst that's gonna happen, right? And so we talk about like raising kids and, you know, it's like if you always pick your kid up before they fall down, they're gonna fall down all the time because they always know you're gonna be there to pick them up. And then fall down a couple times and they're like, oh, that hurt. I'm not gonna do that again, right? So they gotta figure it out. And organizations do the same thing, right? And so I think if you just try something and it doesn't work, what was the harm, right? Like, so here's my harebrained idea. I think we should do a pop-up splash pad. We'll find a park, we'll find the garden hoses, we'll find the sprinklers, we'll advertise it, and it's like pop-up splash pad. Come, everybody come, right? It's wheelchair accessible, whatever accessible, it's all inclusive, everybody come. We're gonna have sprinklers in the park, pop-up splash pad.
And free popsicles, but only if you've been here less than 2 years, and
Yes.
we'll check that.
So show up, like, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, I mean, I
Nobody
tell,
shows up,
yeah,
somebody gets hurt, it's like, oh, slippery, so we, you know,
sugar high.
take precautions, but it's like, okay, so 30 families showed up and had a good time and had some popsicles and met some new people and it was great, right? We all go home and it's like, oh, we should do that again. It's like, yeah, we'll do something else, right? So is there anything in the city's development code that says we can't have a pop-up splash pad or
Not
can't
yet,
like,
no.
maybe we could give them a reason to put one in there.
Yeah.
Make national news, God. Ugh.
So, and again, it's just as you start brainstorming that stuff, there, again, the idea isn't do an event that ties into what, National Disability Independence Day, but why not do an event that's in July, right? And what are we doing in August to make people feel welcomed and like they belong in Philomath, And so, again, I don't want us to turn into the activity planning committee of the city, but I do think, like, having a sense of belonging and being inclusive, the best way to do it is to, like, throw a party and invite people to come. And throwing a party doesn't mean thousands and thousands of dollars. Throwing a party is just, a little bit of marketing, free marketing. Social media is free. Sending newsletters, free. Emails, free. We don't need to print off posters and put them in the restaurants so people know what's going on in town, right?
I mean, even if we wanted to, it's literally 8.5 by 11 printer paper is not going to be very expensive to print something on. And then you just go ask nicely, hey, can I hang this here?
Yeah.
Or just hang it and then see if they notice.
If they don't want it there, they'll take it down.
Yeah, see?
And then they'll call me.
I think the point that you made about connection is really important, and I think I had the opportunity in my first term at Portland State. I got to do a community assessment. You and I talked about this, and so I got to talk to a lot of different people in our community about what makes Philomath special and like what we could do to be even more special. And every single person that I talked to, regardless of how long they lived here, they all said, I want more connection. I wish we were more connected and that there were more things for us, like to bring us together to do things. And I felt very surprised by that because for a small town, we have a lot of stuff to do. There's always something going on, it feels like. But even then, people of the community were like, I want more opportunity to be connected with my neighbors. And I think that speaks volumes about the community that we live in, that the one thing everybody said was connection. And so there's nothing more inclusive than trying to figure out how to get everybody to feel welcome, and wanted and needed and connected. So I love it. I'm in. I want to help.
Great. Community building is important. And the nice thing too is like, as we learn, like, hey, what does the community need? Those can be things that either get tossed back to council because there'll be stuff that's, important for the city as a whole, or if we find out like, hey, actually, Philomath is really accessible in some ways and not accessible in others. How can we address those as Inclusivity Committee? We can kind of review it and then toss stuff to council or figure out if there's something we want to do, like just go talk to business owners or whatever. But to find out what people need, we have to go actually, God forbid, talk to them first. There's a really, Elva's laughing, but there's a really key study that came out, I think it was like maybe 8 years ago. There's a project, really wonderful project called Tree Detroit. And they went out and they were just like, we are going to plant trees across the city of Detroit. And they went to all these neighborhoods that did not have trees. And they were like, we're going to plant trees in your neighborhood. And they found out when they went out, they did this without talking to anybody. They were just like, yes, trees will fix everything, well-meaning people. And they go and immediately everybody is like, why are you doing this? Like, what makes you think that this is a good idea? I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're doing. Why do I want a tree in my yard? Like, no, like what if it affects my power bills, whatever. They realized that when they just tried to push stuff down from top down, that everybody was very resistant. They got a ton of pushback. No one liked it. When they actually went out and talked to people and found out like, hey, what are your concerns? How could we help you? Here is why we think this would help. Like, we want to go ahead and increase shade across the city and kind of offset the urban heat sink effect. And what we're hoping to do is lower your power bills because eventually you'll have shade over your house. People were a lot more receptive. I don't want to see us be top-down Tree Detroit. I would like to see instead, bottom up like, hey, what does our community actually need? We're only certain members of it. Some of us are very well connected. Some of us maybe not. But we can all go out and talk to people and find out like, what do they want and use that to inform what we do. So it's like, I hear a lot about the proclamations and like, oh, we're not really doing anything. And it's like, well, on the one hand, this committee is still pretty young and figuring out what the hell it is and what we're supposed to be doing. And on the other hand, I think the community building and community connection is something we're working on, but isn't there yet. So it's like, if we want to go ahead and make events happen, yeah, absolutely. And if we want to do more as a committee that's dedicated to diversity and inclusion, we need to have the events first, talk to people, find out like, okay, where are we failing at inclusivity? And then let that reflect back on what we do.
I think all of those are really good points, and it makes me think of two specific wishes I have. One is that we should do some community building in the community, in this committee, because like we don't know each other very well. I mean, some of us may, but we all don't know each other. So I think that is part of like why there's this sense of like, what are we doing if we don't mention it here? And then the second thing is that from what you were saying, Jen, about like talking to people, I was thinking if we want to bring together people that are new to Philomath, like where do we find them, and where are they reaching when they arrive?
So the fun part about living in Philomath is that water is controlled by the city, and you get a city newsletter with your water bill every month.
Yeah, I
So-
think that would be a good way
Yeah,
of-
so to Chris's point about new people to Philomath, one of the
We
things
also
we can
know-
do.
Show me all of the new water customers that have, like, or addresses that have changed in the last 24 months. I can get that report in 10
Popsicles.
minutes.
And then we compare the address and their ID against that report, and those ones get popsicles, the rest of them nothing.
No, but I do think you open it to, still be very inclusive, open, but targeted, right? And I think the seniors was that way too, right? It's like, we have a targeted audience, everybody's welcome, right? I mean, if I were to show up to that meeting, you wouldn't be like, what are you doing? So you still have a target, but it's, you're not excluding anybody at the same time, everybody is welcome.
No,
I think, and if you do, here's the thing is, on the risk of becoming party planners for everything, but if you do enough of those events, everybody gets included to something, right? Like, not every event is gonna be a target, but enough will be a target that people will feel, I may not go to an everybody's invited city party, but if I'm a new member of the community and it's a, hey, if you moved in the last year, we have got some really cool information for you, the mayor's gonna be there to welcome you, party, I might be more apt to come to that. More apt than the 4th of July parade or carnival that everybody does, right? So, targeting isn't necessarily a bad thing, because in some ways it's like a special invitation for that group of folks.
That's a good thing.
And if you do that enough with enough group of folks, eventually everybody's just like, hey, we're all in, right? So,
Is there a standard survey that goes with like the master plan or strategic plans? That like, so like, for example, if this committee had a call to action volunteer announcement or agenda item, and then it was like to show up somewhere in person to do something, like, is there a way that like we can collect our own, like get the city's feedback and support that? Because it might be helpful, because free events build community, and it is a opportunity to collect some information to figure out like what you're saying, like, do you even want trees? And it's a way to bring the city to them and like get that feedback from it. So if there's a standard or one in the process of being made that's like, here's 5 questions, 10 questions, then like that's easy for someone to like volunteer for the event and then volunteer for that task.
I mean, I think with the idea of what's up Philomath, something that occurred to me is like, we probably do want to have like some kind of form or something where we can have people, even it's just I hate QR codes, but scan a QR code and then fill out this form. And the form would literally be as something as simple as, what do you like about Philomath? What do you wish was different about Philomath? Is there anything that you would like us to change? And I mean, you're gonna get, having sent out surveys like that before, because in my real job, I've done a lot of market research, you're gonna get a lot of people asking for stuff where it's like, that is not within the city purview. I cannot stop your neighbor's dog from barking. Good luck with that. But at the same time, you're also gonna get a lot of people being like, oh, I really love the farmer's market, but I never know when it is. Like, can we get more regular, like, posting on the city webpage or something about like when the farmer's market is held or whatever? You'll get some good feedback, some bad feedback. So like, I think, yeah, to your point, like some of these events, we're just gonna have to have like follow-on stuff where it's like, scan this, fill this thing out. It works for the chili cook-off of all things. You literally go like click the link and then vote on the chili. So it's like I think the people of Philomath can maybe follow along with it. How do we implement that for like what's up Philomath?
I would say that I did have some feedback given to me. I don't remember if it might have been after Pride last year, which is something I hadn't really considered and now think about often, which is, and we've sort of talked about it here, but having, if we have a form that's digital, even if we're not asking for identifying information on that form, also having an alternative mode of giving that feedback that is not digital, whether it's somebody sitting with a clipboard and letting people talk at you because not everyone trusts that you were treating that data, that digital data you're collecting respectfully. And so
Yeah,
I do think, yeah, if we're gonna,
the good old comment box with a bunch of paper.
yeah, just.
Yeah, the city did a kind of official city survey. It's getting a little dated now. I think it's about 4-year-old data, but it was pretty comprehensive on what are we doing well. It was very like city services, like fire, or not fire, but police and code enforcement, public safety, all that kind of stuff. So it was very, water to. But thanks, Alva. Better.
Thank
I was
you.
enjoying the sun and everything. So that data, it's getting a little dated, but we still, we printed the survey summary off for the city council when we did our retreat just this year, and noted that this data is a couple years old now, but which is sentiment really changed in the community over 2 or 3 years, right? So we can do that. We could also do shorter ones. There's a danger a little bit in like the city doing the survey as opposed to like the Inclusivity Committee or like a really nice gal that was at an event that we went to at the park that was like, oh, you should do a survey about what future types of events you want to see in the community.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was
Right,
thinking,
so-
even if it was just, if you started with like a survey of like anything that is, gets this committee in the community that would give feedback on is this picture work, because this is a working committee. It is always evolving to be like, yeah, that's the thing. So if we do a July, what's happening in Philomath, and then someone comes up and it's like, hey, let's talk about Inclusivity Committee. Here's all our information. You should come join. And then also, hey, here's a little survey. We'd like, we helped put this together. We just want to see how helpful type of stuff. But
About this event, what would you like us to do
this is
next
like
time? Yeah.
standard. We use it every time, or at least for like, we pilot for a year or something.
Yeah.
We don't have to be married to whatever questions we ask in the first iteration.
And that's kind of my point. Like if you just do little things, right, then even if it fails, it's like, okay, no big deal. We'll just do something different next
Yeah.
time.
I mean,
So-
the worst that you're gonna hear is like people won't fill it out.
Yeah.
Like having done a lot of market data, the worst you hear is not, no, I don't care about this. The worst you hear is nothing at all. So
Okay, so I feel very good about this discussion. Just to recap, we're going to pause on the Inclusivity Proclamation, and Chris and I will have a conversation.
Well, I think we'll take action next month.
Yeah.
We'll either review it or we'll get some guidance from legal on.
there will be an update at the next meeting regardless, but Amanda needs to follow up with you offline before we know what shape it'll take.
Yes.
Okay.
Beth is going to do social media posts for Juneteenth that we will review at the next meeting. Megan is going to do a Disability Independence Day post. And we can review that at the June meeting, or if you bring it early, we can, but,
And we're just gonna follow the template that we talked about tonight?
yeah,
Perfect.
yep. And then if you need help with graphic related stuff, like a header or a photo, if you can't find one, let me know, and I can whip something up on Canva or something. Or Crystal can help with it if needed. And then
I can email Janelle, the Willamette Market, Farmers Market manager. She's out of the country, but I can email her and pitch the What's Up Philomath first day, and I can kind of take the lead on inviting organizations to do that and help coordinate that. If you want to help with that event, I might drop your contact information or phone number for people to call just to kind of register so that we know how many people are coming and could kind of make sure there's space.
Yeah.
Usually that market park's all in here, but we could just as easily take some of the space over, at least like behind sidewalk space. We still have places to park, but could still have booths and tables and stuff around. So if you want to help with that, and then there's tons of room like in front of police and even tucked back behind library, like there's room to do a special event type stuff. Janelle will kill me for saying that, but there's room still.
And
Full,
so,
but they're not that full.
would I just keep a Google Doc that I share with you so that you can see who's registered and who we've heard
Keep it
from?
going. And would share that with Janelle as well as the market
Yeah.
manager, so she's got an idea, and hopefully they could help promote it as well as they're promoting their first day.
Do you happen to know what that
yeah,
is?
I
Sorry.
was just gonna ask the same
I don't know when
question.
their first day is.
I wanna say
It's in May.
yeah, it's sometime in
I don't
May.
know if it's, yeah, I don't know. I know we could put something in the newsletter
Okay.
today that'll be going out next month because it starts in May. Because I saw that and they're like, we started, they're like, yep, May. Okay,
Gosh,
I had asked it, but I'll find out. So that's not a lot of time to prepare, but again, it's like, do you have a pop-up table? You know, do you have a card table or a?
But that's not the popsicle part, is that a popsicle?
No, that's
That just, yeah, we can pick a different popsicle. You want to do that and try to?
July, that would be,
July
so
or
no,
June?
not Frolic Day. So, well, that would be almost the end of July then, because we wouldn't do 4th of July, and then Frolic is next weekend. So. And June is all graduations, Father's Day.
Yeah.
We have Pride on the 20th.
USC Carnival is happening then too.
So I feel like the end of July is a nice popsicle
Yeah.
time, depending on if the park is available.
Okay.
When it's nice and hot outside.
Do you want to, did you like the idea of doing like a new to Philomath kind of
Yeah,
event, target that?
Yeah, I think that's a very smart idea.
yeah. I definitely would have, I mean, I'm very outgoing, so I made friends quickly, but I would have liked to have asked a lot of questions earlier on. I had a special situation though. I was forced into knowing all of my neighbors.
I wonder about
Still don't know where you're
inviting somebody from Citizens Academy too that can talk about how cool that is, and
Because we start that up again in September.
so
So if-
timing-wise, it's
Yeah.
kind of perfect.
Yep. Cool.
Believe it or not, the hardest part on any of these is just finding a date, and then kind of once you find a date, then it just kind of flows, right? And you're gonna have conflicts, that's okay, it's nice. You find a date where you're not gonna have a ton of conflict and
Yeah.
you roll with it. What did we just say, discuss?
We just need to
citizen
find out
academy?
if, we need to find out if there's a, if the shelter is open, like which one of those later July. I mean, we wouldn't necessarily,
There's always a shelter
Should be
over,
open,
we
yeah.
do Mary's, or we can do Shelter 2, or we
That's
can
true.
do wherever. Westbrook, we can do. Yeah, utilize the other parks too, not just always one park.
right. So just to close us out, so next month, we are going to review Juneteenth social media posts, One way or the other, we'll have something about inclusivity proclamation. Is there anything I'm missing or anything that anyone wants to discuss at the next meeting?
I think you hit on all the points.
And then if anything comes up before, I usually try to have at least my outline of what the agenda is going to be the week before I have to turn it in. So our next meeting is the 26th. So I have to turn the packet in at the latest on the 21st. So
Get
if
stuff to you by the 19th.
if there's anything that comes up between like now and like the 18th or 19th, and you're like, I would really like to discuss this, just shoot me an email or send it to Christy and she'll forward it to me. If anything comes up or you hear of any cool events that you want to share. I like your suggestion about sort of touching base on what we've been doing, even if I know that sometimes the lines can get a little blurry on what is a, committee related event and what isn't, but I think hearing what people are working on and what we've been doing in the community is helpful. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So I'll add some space, maybe after introductions or approving of the minutes or something, where we can just sort of share out if folks want to, like if they've been to any events or had any conversations with community members or whatnot. And
Great.
yeah. All right, well, anything you want to add? Otherwise, we will get together and hang out next month. Thank you. Great. Meeting adjourned.